Hello, friends. Those back pages here. I hope you're well. I just want to remind you that I'm not here to tell you how to collect. I'm here to tell you how I collect. And I think that's important because it just seems like a lot of people in the space, a lot of them seem to be preachy, telling you how you should collect, what you should collect. And obviously the old trope, oh, there's no wrong way to collect what you love, blah, 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 of course. At this point, all that stuff's given. But what I like to consider myself is not an influencer, but someone who collects, just a dude who collects and puts a lot of it on the internet. Hopefully other people relate, maybe they can learn something because I'm a big fan of people sharing their knowledge. And in the old days, back before the internet, we used to collect in a bubble. And you would read SED, Beckett, Tough Stuff, Baseball Cards Magazine, etc. You could order stuff through the mail. You could go to your local card shop. You can go to the local shows, go to regional shows. Maybe you could even go to the national. I didn't attend my first national till 2010, but I attended like the East Coast National here in New York, the local card shows, quite a few of them. So it wasn't difficult to get out and about, and especially after the age of driving, when I was able to drive on my own. It was not difficult to get to shows. But I think that, and I do have a topic here I want to talk about, and I think that I'm trying to form it properly, but I think there's a correlation between the birth and the rise of the internet and our hobby. What I mean by that, let me explain. Obviously, the hobby has been around for decades and decades and decades. The hobby is not going anywhere. And at this point, either is the internet, which is fine. But I think that, and I was thinking about this the other day, that right about when the internet became readily available for the masses, mid-90s, 95 pretty much, 96, and then it became what it is today, but and that's 30 years ago, which is scary to think about. But when you stop and you think that, like 1991, for example, Topps Donruss Fleer Score, Sportflix, I think, just ended, but Upper Deck, readily available, just had to pay for it. Wax, sets, whatever your collecting preference was, and you built your sets, you collected your team sets, made nine sheet paid, 9 pocket, the 9 pocket sheets, 9 sheets for one card, ever. You kept yourself entertained. You probably spent more time with your cards back then, but you were limited in your scope to what was available. Obviously, you could, like I said, do mail order, but you would have to mail them a check. They'd have to cash the, check would have to clear. They'd mail it back. It's almost like today's guaranteed authenticity programs. That's like 2 weeks, if not longer back then. But again, it wasn't a big deal because you didn't have the internet. So you went on with your life. You watched TV, you listened to the radio, you read books, all that stuff. Kept yourself entertained, and it's amazing to stop and think. I'm almost 54, so I've lived half my life almost without the internet as an adult. So I remember what it was like, to listen to the radio, cable television, go to the movies, all of that stuff. And I don't know what made me think about this, but been thinking about like the rise of the internet. After the baseball strike, baseball coming back in '95, it's pretty much when everything started to ramp up. Parallels, and a lot of it was from competition. I mean, they had to, they had to get better. The companies had to compete with each other, which is a good thing, and we certainly don't have that today. But, when the internet did come around and became readily available for most, eBay was on the rise, and you could buy something in California, and if you're in New York, something in North Carolina gets listed, you just hit the buy it now, you buy it. California, Vegas, Montana, Seattle, doesn't matter, wherever it happened to be, you could just buy it. And that was a good thing and a bad thing, in my opinion, because, it was the innovation stuff led to, how do I say this, led to a lot of us, and obviously I can only speak for myself, but I think a lot of people, especially back then, think the way I do, or did. But it led to a lot of realization that you're just not going to have everything. And I think that's important, especially now, because back then I was a Joe Sakic collector, and up until when 95, 96 Pinnacle came out, what was it? Yeah, it was 5, 6, 7. I think it was 96, 7 Pinnacle. Whenever they introduced printing plates, those are the original one of ones. 4 printing plates for each base card, one color for each. And that was when I realized personally that I'm not going to own every Sakic ever made, because the odds of and another thing is, back then you could rip freely. Prior to 95, it wasn't really that expensive. SP, Upper Deck SP wasn't cheap, but it wasn't astronomical like most everything is today. But you couldn't. The printing plates were so the pack odds and the printing plates were outrageous, obviously. And that was when I realized, what, I'd be lucky to even see one of the printing plates become available, never mind, outbid everyone else or find all 4. So that was a realization. And it was during that time when everything just started to change. Pacific was really coming into their own with a lot of parallels. Like Pacific, Pinnacle did a lot of retail product versions. They actually did some magazine. It was called magazine boxes that had a different all foil parallel. But Pacific, the company, they were doing retail. You could only get this and this SKU, this color and this SKU, and etc. And they were doing so many different brands, Dynagon and all this Crown Royale and everything else. But it hit me the other day. I don't know why lately I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff, and just thinking about how the differences between then and now. Get off my lawn and yell at the clouds and all that crap. But I still love the hobby. I still love collecting. I still love trying to hunt down cards. I mean, I always talk about focus, and mine is terrible. But I still work on it pretty much all the time. And when I talk about friends in the hobby, I think that's another aspect is to have like-minded friends, not only on here, not only on social media, but private. You text, group text. I highly recommend you be in some group texts. And then you can bounce ideas off of each other and get new ideas and share new ideas. And I know I certainly do that with my friends. And they're constantly, won't name anyone, but, one of my friends, he totally influenced me on the 2024 Topps Otani 500. I liked it. I had a black at the time, but I was content with, just having the black, and then now I'm trying to get some of the other parallels. But that's just a small example. So I just wanted to come on and talk to you guys about, just sharing. How I always like to tell you to share your knowledge and share your time, because we're sharing time with each other. And share your collection. And I think a lot of this has come about, like, where the space of our community here on YouTube is, and I see a lot of people mentioning this, it's not a unique hot take, but I see a lot of people regurgitating the same things over and over again, which is fine. But again, the hobby, the hobby is dying. The usual hobby is dying. Should you buy graded cards? Are graded cards a scam? Does the grade matter? All that stuff is just, you want to do that video? That's fine. But you don't need to do it 2-3 times a month. Or 2-3 times a week, even. You just don't need to keep reiterating that. Share something different. I get it. It's not sexy. It's not popular to, not talk about those things. Those are the hot topics, the clickbait, you get your views up, you get your subs up, but you're not really moving the needle. And again, it's when you do what you want. Obviously, blah, 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 blah. I can't remember who coined this phrase, but it's a good one, and I like to use it. That success speaks for itself. Success speaks for itself. Everyone's definition of success in this hobby is different, but like I always say, it's a marathon and not a sprint. You're not. You just, I guess technically you could just build stuff overnight, but it's going to cost a lot of money. Will you be happy? I have X, Y, and Z. Oh yeah, well now I go out and just buy X, Y, and Z. Okay. Good. It doesn't make you happy. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on and talk about this. I think it's important that, we're going to, as we near 5 years away from the pandemic now, we're still here. We're still collecting. We still love the hobby, no matter what Fanatics is trying to do to it. And we keep on keeping on. Whoops. How about I knock everything over this time?